TV1 News First, main sponsor.
Students complete the ACBT University Entry Foundation in 8 months for 288,000 rupees.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime News, coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. I'm Bernadine Jai Singha. Let's now take a look at headlines.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
BIA administration brings disrepute to Sri Lanka through flight delay. President creates a task force on green agriculture. Protests for fertilizer in many areas.
පිටරටින් ගෙනාපු එකත් ඇත්තටම රසායනික පොර. හදිසි කැබිනට් තීරණයක් අරගෙන හරි රසායනික පොර ගෙන්වා ගැනීම සඳහා වන තීන්දුවකට ආණ්ඩුවට යන්න පුළුවන්.
Who was behind the organic fertilizer crisis? A revelation by Ratana Thero's party.
කාබනික පොහොර අර්බුදය ආවේ මේ රතන හාමුදුරුවන්ගේ කුමන්ත්‍රණයක ප්‍රතිඵලයක් වශයෙන්.
Are school keys being snatched from principals who don't report to work?
පොලිසිය වලින් දුරකථන ඇමතුම් ලබා දෙන්න. එතකොට ලබා දීලා පාසල් විවෘත කරනවද නැද්ද කියලා ඔවුන්ගෙන් අහනවා.
Chennai Super Kings win IPL for the 4th time.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
2 submarines and a warship of the Russian Navy reached the Colombo Port today.
Two submarines and a warship of the Russian Navy's Pacific Fleet were welcomed at the Colombo Port today. They had arrived to restore their supplies. The ship named Gremyashchi is 107 meters long. The submarines are 73 meters in length. Navy Commander Vice Admiral Nishanta Ulugetanna visited the ship and the submarines today. The crew members are to engage in a sightseeing tour in Colombo on the 17th of October. The commander of the squadron and the commanding officer of other units will meet with Sri Lanka's commander of the Western Naval Area on the 18th of October.
Reports are emerging on the inconvenience faced by a flight when it landed in Sri Lanka recently.
On the 26th of September, the Boeing 767 flight of Condor Air was flying from Germany to Maldives. It was carrying 226 passengers. The flight made an emergency landing at the Bandaranaike International Airport at around 11:26 in the morning. This was due to bad weather. The credit card machine at the airport had not been working as the flight crew paid their landing fees. It is reported that this had caused inconveniences to the flight crew and the passengers.
The two pilots wanted to settle an invoice at the airport. They had chosen to pay it by credit card. They had chosen it as they didn't have US dollars in hand. They had tried paying $740 US with the credit card at the duty manager's office, but the credit cards of both the pilots hadn't been detected by the machine.
The pilots were instructed to try 2 other machines to make the credit card payment. They were due to pay $740 US by that time.
After 45 minutes, the pilots realized their cards hadn't been activated for international payments. They had then contacted their banks and activated the cards.
It was around 2:10 in the afternoon when the pilots began returning to the plane after making the payment. They had 15 minutes left for takeoff. As the crew was approaching their break, a crew from another country was brought down to take over. The passengers, which included women and children, weren't aware of the incident even at that time. Pilots had to pay less than $100 for overstaying the permitted limit.
This issue arose as the credit cards of both pilots hadn't worked for 45 minutes. How can the airport accept that as its problem? That is the issue.
Has Condo Air contacted authorities about this problem?
The airline hasn't contacted us yet. I believe they must be aware that this was a mistake from their end. As the airport, we expect to contact the airline and write to them explaining the situation.
Dr. Aruna Abegunawardana is a leading tour operator in Sri Lanka. He says this incident cannot be disregarded as the Condo airline flies millions of tourists to Sri Lanka.
When the flight was arrived in Maldives, that the flight time was only 45 minutes. So then another disaster, because Maldives, most of the clients was booked. So the all flight, the inland flight like seaplane, they can't fly in the night. There were no night flying facilities. Then the entire passengers got stuck. So why everything is happened? Because of our mismanagement. A to Z. We should apologize officially, not through the ambassador. President should excuse for the people of this country, but we need foreign exchange. We need to build up this country.
At a time when tourist arrivals have dropped due to COVID-19, will an inquiry be conducted into this incident that inconvenienced passengers? Retired Major General G.A. Chandrasiri is the chairman of Airport and Aviation Services Lanka Limited. He told Newsfirst the employees who were on duty on that day have been asked to temporarily refrain from coming to work. State Minister of Aviation D.V. Chanaka has called for a report on this incident. He said he expects the report to be ready by Monday.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has created a presidential task force to implement a sustainable system for green agriculture.
The Presidential Task Force has been given several responsibilities. This includes identifying the need for organic fertilizer by various plants, increasing the production of organic fertilizer, taking steps to manufacture pesticides and weedicides locally. Vijit Valikala has been appointed as the chairman of the Presidential Task Force. Presidential Secretary Vernon Pereira has been appointed as the secretary. Other members in the task force are officials from state and private entities linked to agriculture. They are Lalit Seneviratne, SKB Kasun Tarika Amal, Malinda Seneviratne, RB Rasikatusita Kumara, Dr. BKG Kavantisa, Samantha Fernando, Samudita Kumarasinghe, Ajit Randanu, NM Khalid, Shammi Kirinde, Nirmala Karaugoda, Chaminda Hettikan Kanamge and Nishan De Silva.
The fertilizer crisis in the country is an ever-worsening issue, with farmers island-wide struck hard by it. Even today, farmers lamented over the non-receipt of fertilizer, although rumours circulated that stocks of fertilizer have been transported to respective areas.
A protest was organized in Dibulana Valikanda by the organization to protect the rights of farmers in the Madru Oya. The farmers engaged in a protest march from the Dibulana village to the Valikanda Dimulana junction. We will be left with nothing when the compost is washed away. There are sufficient stocks of chemical fertilizer to cultivate this season. Distribute them to the farmers in an organized manner. A protest organized by the Samigijana Balawege was held in Kiselpola Ridimalia de Badulla today. Another protest was held in Galbokka. Another protest organized by the Samigijana Balawege was held in Danhela Akurasa today.
තමුන්ගේ නොහැකියාව තමුන්ගේ නිර්වත කොරෝනා අමුඩෙන් වහගන්න තමයි ආණ්ඩුව හදන්නේ.
The Joint Farmers Federation travelled to the Lakpohora storage facility in Ampara to inquire into stocks of fertilizer delivered to the facility last week. However, farmers were astonished to find out that the stocks of fertilizer delivered was not the type applied immediately after cultivations commence, but the type of fertilizer applied 45 days after cultivating. The fertilizer named MOP has been sent here. The minister must be under the impression that the farmers in Ampara have already began cultivation. We usually apply the TSD fertilizer as soon as cultivations commence, but MOP has been delivered. The minister is confused over organic and chemical fertilizer. This is a type of chemical fertilizer. Do not try to deceive farmers.
The Agriculture Ministry has decided to import 2 million litres of liquid nano nitrogen to solve the fertilizer crisis. Agriculture Secretary Professor Udit K. Jayasinghe said nano nitrogen imported from India's city of Gujarat with the President's intervention is of high quality. The first shipment will arrive in Sri Lanka through an air freight on Tuesday. The nitrogen we obtain through 1 unit of this is equal to what is received from a 50 kilo bag of urea. A unit contains 500 millilitres of nitrogen. We hope to import about 2 million litres to cultivate more than 800,000 hectares of land. When it is sprayed onto plants, it will help it grow. Its effectiveness is 80% higher.
Meanwhile, the Ceylon Today newspaper reports that the Chinese embassy has intervened in the process of importing fertilizer. The report says the Hippo Spirit ship carrying fertilizer had left China's city of Qingdao on the 22nd of September. This can be confirmed through a marine tracker which tracks ships. The ship carrying 22,000 metric tons of organic fertilizer is due to reach Singapore in 2 days. It is currently in the Malacca Strait. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa says the decision to send back a ship with organic fertilizer hasn't been implemented. He made these remarks while visiting farmers in Ranminithanna in Tissamaharama today. After having lunch, we wonder what we could eat for dinner. The situation of the country is dangerous. Farmers have been affected by multiple problems. The people are helpless. The price of goods has skyrocketed. The government which fooled the people must be held responsible for this. Today, the general public is starving. How did the rulers with a mandate of 6.9 million votes respond to this? They ignored the matter. They are bringing back unsuitable fertilizer. The ship is coming back. What did they say when it was confirmed that the fertilizer contains harmful bacteria such as Erwinia and Bacillus? They said this fertilizer is unsuitable for consumption. They said they will send them back. The opposition leader visited the Subodharamya in Kuhumbagaha Palace and paid visits to the chief incumbent Venerable Atbatwe Hemalokathero. We have hope about the opposition leader. These are hopes of you taking over this country and working for the people to save them from the state.
Ministers are requesting the President for a sustainable solution to the fertilizer issue.
To be honest, what was imported was also a chemical fertilizer. Only one person is claiming that it is not chemical. This is chemical fertilizer. 1 ton costs about $400. Urea used to cost around $225. This problem wouldn't have happened if urea was imported at that time. The President's decision is good, but adapting to organic fertilizer should have been done over a period of 10 years. The farmers are facing a severe crisis because of this mismanagement. The cabinet can make a decision to import chemical fertilizer.
The Our Power of People party expressed these views on the fertilizer crisis.
Chemical fertilizer was banned and the organic fertilizer crisis was caused due to a conspiracy by Ratanathero. He aimed to sell the fertilizer produced by him to his allies and to earn profits. We understand there is an agreement for him to supply a large amount of organic fertilizer to the government. This is not our party's policy.
Fish prices in the country has increased substantially. Fish such as talapat, kopara and linna were sold at high prices at the Paligura fish market today. Newsfirst Senanayaka files this report.
fish traders at the Paliagoda fish market say the price of fish has increased.
The ගණන් වැඩි සෑහෙන ගණන් වැඩි කියන්නේ 1400 1500 වගේ යන්නේ මේ මාළු එනවා අඩුයි. ඒකයි තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ නැත්තම් මේ අපි වැඩි කරලා නැහැ. ඉල්ලුමට සැපෙමුද ඉන්න බැරි නිසා තමයි මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ.
This problem has arisen because the supply can't meet the demand. We will face problems even if we import talapat fish. There is a global shortage of this type of fish.
As a country surrounded by the ocean, a considerable population in our country depend on fishing. Right now, I am at the Central Fish Market Complex in Paliagoda. This is where fish from Trincomalee, Jaffna and Negombo are sold. The price of fish has increased like many other goods these days. Vendors here point out that the supply of fish has reduced. According to basic economic principles, when the supply reduces, the price increase. News First inquired from fishermen in Negombo as to why the supply of fish has reduced.
One reason is the bad weather. Fishermen are cautioned against going to sea at this time. The cost of fishing gear, including nets and fuel, have increased by at least 30 to 40%.
සියලු ආම්පන්නවල මිල 30කින් 35කින් 40කින් වගේ ප්‍රමාණයකින් ඉහළ ගිහිල්ලා තියෙනවා.
In December last year, Thalapat fish was sold between 650 and 700 rupees. It has now increased to 1,500 rupees. Koppara fish is being sold between 1,350 and 1,400 rupees. It was sold at between 850 to 900 rupees before supply went down.
මේ දවස් ටිකේ පවතින මිල ගොඩක් කියලායි රටේ පවතින ආර්ථිකයත් එක්ක සහ මිනිසුන්ගේ ජීවන වියදමත් එක්ක බලද්දී මිනිසුන්ට මේ මිල පොඩ්ඩක් දරා ගන්න අමාරුයි.
Earnings sent by Sri Lankan workers overseas to the country has reduced. The central bank says workers are sending money unofficially.
Money sent to the country by Sri Lankan workers from overseas has reduced by half. In September this year, Sri Lanka received $353.2 million from workers, but this number was $702.7 million in September last year. The drop is nearly 50%. Money sent unofficially is not recorded by the central bank. They call this the grey market.
And what's the situation with the worker remittances in September?
There was a big gap between the grey market as well as the official exchange rate. And that, I believe, was one of the reasons why there was a shift towards the grey market, and that was something that has to be addressed, and we have addressed it with greater stability of the exchange rate. So I think this month we would see a change in that situation. In addition, you can see now that the country has opened out, there are many people who are trying to go out for jobs as well. Our estimates is that about 100,000 people who would have normally have gone out for employment did not get the chance to go, and that is also one factor that has affected the inflows.
Indrajitha Ponsu is a lecturer in economics at the University of Colombo. He explains why people are using unofficial methods to send money.
When the financial market, especially the dollar market, was coming under a lot of pressure, the exchange rate mechanism got deviated fairly substantially to what we call the informal market, where people are buying and selling dollars at much higher exchange rates. So there was a market mechanism which invariably made people think, okay, you are better off going to the unofficial markets. So exchange rate scenario will have to be stabilized in the medium term. It will give central bank more flexibility to bring these curb market rates and the official rates into some kind of a common platform.
Transparency International says Sri Lanka should bring back assets held illegally by Sri Lankans overseas.
The Pandora Papers, which was revealed recently, exposed assets hidden by the world's rich and powerful. The leak contained details of assets held overseas by former Deputy Minister Nirupama Rajapaksa and her spouse. Sri Lanka's law requires parliamentarians to declare the assets of them and their family annually. Transparency International Sri Lanka said it has filed right to information requests seeking former Deputy Minister Nirupama Rajapaksa's asset declaration. It adds she would have violated the law if she hadn't disclosed overseas assets. TISL said it has written to the Central Bank's Financial Intelligence Unit seeking to investigate possible money laundering. It has also requested the Bribery and Corruption Commission to investigate whether public funds have been embezzled and laundered to foreign safe havens. TISL Executive Director Nadishani Pereira said, quote, "It is important to take stringent action to prevent foreign currency unlawfully flowing out of the country into secrecy jurisdictions," end quote. She added Sri Lanka should take diplomatic steps to recover illegal assets held by Sri Lankans overseas.
In primetime news, let's now cross over to a short commercial break.
TV1 News First, main sponsor.
Students complete the ACBT University Entry Foundation in 8 months for 288,000 rupees.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
Do your online shopping with Sambole.lk. Home delivery and pickup now available.
Sambole.lk.
Welcome back to the news. The Ceylon Teachers Union has accused politicians of threatening school principals.
අපිට පේන්න තියෙන දේ තමයි සූදානමක් තියෙනවා මේ විදුහල්පතිවරුන්ගෙන් යතුරු බලහත්කාරයෙන් අත්පත් කරගන්න.
We can see that they are trying to snatch away the keys of schools from principals. How can they do that? This is illegal. We saw politicians in provincial levels, including Minister Gamani Lokuge, threatening principals. Principals are being threatened everywhere. What is more dangerous than this is the police have made telephone calls to the principals of schools with less than 200 students. They have asked whether the schools will be reopened or not. Is that the duty of the police? What sort of a threat is Public Security Minister Sarath Weerasekara levelling? The police fall under him. He is levelling an indirect threat using the police. MP Tissa Kuttiarachi says that we must be executed at Galface. We wish to ask MP Tissa Kuttiarachi as to what punishment he would propose for the government that has failed to educate children for 2 years.
අධ්‍යාපනය ලබා දෙන්න අසමත් වුණු ආණ්ඩුවට ඔබ දෙන දඬුවම මොකක්ද කියලා.
ඉතින් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට සුබෝධිනිය පානම් පුංචියම හරි දෙන්න. සුබෝධිනියගේ. සුබෝධිනිය පාන සුන්ත පුංචියම දෙන්න ඕන. ඒතර පුංචියමගෙන් හරි ඉල්ල ගන්න සුබෝධිනියගෙන් මොකක් හරි. එහෙමනම්. ඒ කියන්නේ එන්නේ ගොඩින් නැතුව මඩින් නම් අපිට පේනවා මේගොල්ලෝ එන්නේ ගුරු ප්‍රශිෂ්ඨ නෙවෙයි.
We can see that their intention is to insult the government and not to solve the problems of teachers. We would like to tell Mahinda Jayasinghe and Stalin to approach us directly. If you approach us directly, we are ready to tackle it directly as well.
මඩින්ම එන්න සූදානම්.
ගුරුවරුන්ගේ තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ.
The government has completely admitted the issues faced by teachers. They have promised to solve this problem by next year. Their intention is to disrupt the country. They are trying to do that during these 3 months. But we must think not as teachers, but as state employees. There is a serious problem if a state employee is not reporting to work despite being ordered to. There is a manner in which a state employee must act. Not all those involved in trade union actions are teachers. If they threaten the teachers who are reporting to work, as the state minister, I would like to state that they will regret doing so.
The provincial council elections are being widely discussed among political circles. The Sri Lanka Freedom Party's Central Committee has decided to face the elections soon. The decision was made at a meeting yesterday.
The Sri Lanka Freedom Party's Central Committee met at the party headquarters. The party's leader, former President Maithripala Sirisena, chaired the meeting. We are requesting the government to conduct the provincial council elections as soon as possible. We discussed plans to strengthen the party to record a victory. We will take the necessary steps in the future. All of us can make accusations. While making accusations, we must also have a solution. We are making a solution for the Sri Lanka Freedom Party to make a decision. You cannot postpone the provincial council election. It is a part of the constitution. Provincial councils are being controlled by president's representatives for more than 3 years now. That is wrong. Therefore, we demand that an election is held as soon as possible. We understand that the COVID-19 pandemic is affecting this process. Therefore, we demand that an election is held as soon as the condition of the country allows us to do so. Former Chief Minister C.V. Vigneshwaran says he believes that the government won't conduct the provincial council election. I accept that they are trying to conduct the provincial council election due to pressure from India, but I feel they won't conduct the election because of the current situation. The government doesn't have money. That is the main problem. The other reason is that the government has lost support in the southern region. Therefore, the government will prefer postponing the provincial council election. I feel they will show India they are planning to conduct the provincial council election quickly and keep delaying it.
மாகாண சபை தேர்தல்களை நடத்துவதற்கு இந்தியாவினுடைய அழுத்தம் காரணம் என்பதை நான் ஏற்றுக்கொள்கின்றேன்.
Indian MP Subramanian Swamy says India must grant Sri Lanka 5 more years to settle its debt.
In a tweet, Indian Rajya Sabha member Subramanian Swamy said the time has come for India to reset its foreign policy on Sri Lanka. The tweet accuses Indian Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar and National Security Advisor Ajit Doval of spoiling ties between the two countries. After the Indian Foreign Secretary's visit, the Indian High Commission had said Sri Lanka should fully implement the 13th Amendment. Minister Basil Rajapaksa had then told a parliamentary committee on electoral reforms on the need to conduct the provincial council elections at the earliest.
Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit spoke about investigations launched into the April 21st attacks during a webinar this evening.
The president, before his election campaign, went all over the place assuring our public that he will attend to this matter as soon as he comes to power. And at a meeting held immediately after his victory with the Bishops' Conference and with me, he assured us and promised us that he will carry on with the decisions of the Commission and he will implement all the decisions of the Commission. But what happened was, when he received the copies of the report, he immediately picked a group of ministers of his own government, which was a political decision, which was not an independent decision, to pick and choose whatever has to be implemented in order to protect his interests and whatever should not be implemented in order to also protect his interests. So it is very clear, because 2 days after the report was handed over, he called me and he asked me how I cannot do all this, because there are some provisions in the report that if I implement, I will become unpopular. And so the government has not implemented most of the recommendations of this report. For the report has been a waste of time and a waste of hope to all of us. This commission report indicates that the Attorney General should ask the intelligence services to inquire into a whole series of suspicious grey areas. But nothing has been done, because we know from inside that it is only words that they mention. It's only a camouflage. The people who are expecting justice and to know the truth behind these attacks have been let down very badly by the present government and the present leadership. We are absolutely shocked and horrified about this attitude. We don't want to take revenge from anybody. We are not out for other people's blood. When the incidents happened, there was a serious possibility of riots in Sri Lanka. We did everything possible, the church, to prevent this. And we made repeated appeals, along with Venerable Ittapane Dhammalankara Mahanayaka Thera. I repeatedly asked my people not to attack the Muslims. I protected the Muslims because we knew that this attack could not have been done by 7 or 8 extremist Muslims. There was something big behind. We want to know what is this big thing that happened behind this attack. Until we know that, we will not be satisfied, because what we will be doing will be trying to hide and hoodwink everybody on this matter. And we want the international community to back us in this struggle to find out what really happened on that Easter Sunday. Who really did it? Who made use of those characters in order to achieve political aims? We want to know that.
The Our Power of People has informed the Election Commission it has cancelled the membership of Venerable Athuraliyeth Ratanathero. The membership has been cancelled after a disciplinary inquiry based on several charges, including going against the party's decisions.
Based on certain events that took place in the past year, we have decided to cancel the membership of Venerable Athuraliya Ratanathero. He has repeatedly violated the party's constitution. We gave him the chance to show cause, but unfortunately he avoided that. Election Commission Chairman Nimal Punchiheva told News First he had received the letter from the Our Power of People party.
At least 4 children have died in Sri Lanka by an inflammation caused after COVID-19. Medical experts are urging parents to remain cautious.
The multi-system inflammatory syndrome in children was first detected in the United Kingdom. It was identified in Sri Lanka earlier this year. The World Health Organization says this can affect children up to the age of 19. Infections can occur between 2 and 6 weeks after contracting COVID-19.
So at the moment, we have about 5 patients in our ICU, Late Regional Children's Hospital ICU. Altogether, we have looked after about 80 patients with this disease in our ICU. So not only in ICU, if you think about the Late Regional Children's Hospital, I think we have looked after about 200 patients with this disease. During last week, we had very bad experience with 2 children dying with disease. So out of these 80 children that I have discussed in our ICU, so 4 children have died.
Doctors say parents should bring their children in for treatment if they observe symptoms.
If your child is having fever with some tender nodes around the neck, abdominal pain, vomiting, and some rashes and red eyes, so as soon as possible, you have to get a proper medical attention. It can be treated anywhere in Sri Lanka. So if they need any help or second opinion, they will definitely contact Late Regional Children's Hospital.
2 police constables have been attacked in Matara. Up next is Crime Watch.
Crime Watch.
2 police constables have been attacked by a sharp weapon in Matara at midnight. The attack happened when the police visited an abandoned garden after hearing a noise. A man who had fought with the police officers at that time had attacked them using a knife. The injured officers are receiving treatment at the Colombo National Hospital. The suspect has been arrested. Police said the suspect is a resident of Grand Pass and is linked to drug racketeering.
Crime Watch.
The killing of UK Conservative MP Sir David Amess has been declared a terrorist incident by police.
Sir David Amess was stabbed multiple times at a constituency surgery in Essex yesterday. The Metropolitan Police said there was a potential motivation linked to extremism. A 25-year-old British man was arrested at the scene on suspicion of murder, and police said they were not seeking anyone else over the death. As part of the investigations, officers are currently carrying out searches at 2 addresses in the London area. The force believes the man acted alone, but inquiries into the circumstances of the incident are continuing. Government sources have reported that he is a British national who, from initial inquiries, appears to be of Somali heritage.
Chennai Super Kings, led by MS Dhoni, won the Indian Premier League cricket tournament for the 4th time yesterday. They beat Kolkata Knight Riders by 27 runs.
Kolkata Knight Riders won the toss and chose to field first in the final played in Dubai last night. Chennai Super Kings posted a total of 192 for the loss of 3 wickets at the end of 20 overs. Faf du Plessis top scored with 86. Sunil Narayan and Shivam Mavi claimed 2 wickets each for the Kolkata Knight Riders. Chasing a target of 193 to win, Kolkata Knight Riders could only score 165 for the loss of 9 wickets in their 20 overs. Venkatesh Iyer scored 50, while Shubman Gill contributed with 51. For Chennai Super Kings, Shardul Thakur picked up 3 wickets. Josh Hazelwood and Ravindra Jadeja picked up 2 wickets each. Chennai Super Kings had won the IPL in 2010, 2011 and 2018.
Super Kings.
With that, we wrap up Primetime News. I'm Bernadine Jai Singha, and the interpreter for tonight is Brian. Good night. Take care.
TV1 News First, main sponsor.
Students complete the ACBT University Entry Foundation in 8 months for 288,000 rupees.
කඳුලට තනි රකින දුක ළඟ රැක සිටින බලා සිටි ඔබ සොයා එන නැගී සිටින්නට අතහිත දෙන ගම් මැද්ද රට නගන